Hello TikTokers, I'm the Biblical Translator and I'm speaking from Corinthians 14 today about tongues and prophecy. Let love be your highest goal, but you should also desire the special abilities the Spirit gives, especially the ability to prophesy. For if you have the ability to speak in tongues, you will be only talking to God, since people won't be able to understand you. You will be speaking by the power of the Spirit, but it will be mysterious. But one who prophesies strengthens others, encourages them, and comforts them. A person who speaks in tongues is strengthened personally, but one who speaks a word of prophecy strengthens the entire church. I wish you could all speak in tongues, but even more, I wish you could all prophesy. For prophecy is greater than speaking in tongues unless someone interprets what you are saying, so that the whole church will be strengthened. Dear brothers and sisters, if I could come to you speaking in an unknown language, how would that help you? But if I bring you a revelation or some special knowledge of prophecy or teaching, that will be helpful. Even lifeless instruments like a flute or the harp must play the notes clearly, or no one will recognize the melody. And if the bugle doesn't sound a clear call, how will the soldiers know that they are being called to battle? It's the same for you. If you speak to people in words they don't understand, how will they know what you are saying? You might as well be talking into an empty space. Now, what's interesting about that is that confounding languages, talking in different languages, but God did that in Genesis, didn't he? 11:1-9, when he confounded the language after the Tower of Babel. And what he did that deliberately to confuse the masses so they couldn't communicate with each other. Before that, everyone spoke one language. So to me, speaking in languages or speaking in tongues, you could draw that similarity to people who come from different parts of the world and speak their language. Wasn't that the fundamental purpose of confounding us, for keeping people separate, for keeping people in a small group, or in this case in a country, only to be able to understand the language of that country? And then I was thinking about the prophecy, and they're saying to be able to prophesy is even more greater than speaking in tongues, because you can strengthen a whole church. And I was thinking about those people who read tarot cards and your palms. Some people call it witchcraft and some people denounce it. But sometimes these people actually forecast the future. These astrologers and people like them, they forecast the future. And so it's very strange that on the one hand, somebody who can prophesy is considered greater than those who are speaking in tongues. And those who are speaking in tongues were confounded deliberately, and they were done that so that they were separate and couldn't communicate with each other. Now, when we go into churches these days, you find people talking in a language we don't understand. It's gobbledygook, isn't it? There's no way we can. It's not even a language of another country. It's totally a different language. And who created that language? Is that the language of the Spirit that they're referring to? They're not talking about languages of different countries, but a specific language that only certain people who are spiritually enlightened can speak. And when we hear that sound, or when we hear that language, it's very similar and runs through all different people in different parts of the church. And so we wouldn't know whether or not it's something that it does emanate from the Spirit, or whether, you have so many scam pastors and scam Christians, whether they're putting it on to sound convincing, whether they are putting on a performance to give them some kind of accolade. They reckon that anytime somebody speaks in tongues, there has to be somebody in the church who can interpret those tongues. And if that doesn't happen, whoever was speaking in tongues isn't authentic. I don't know how true that is. But all I'm saying is that when we are thinking about people and communication, is showing you the importance of communication. It's the importance of speaking in one voice. It's the importance of being understood. It's the importance of guidance and direction and being able to follow instructions. People who speak a different language, or are they speaking in tongues? Yeah, this is a difficult one, isn't it? Because prophecy, you have people like Aristotle, and there's another guy who is always telling us that the world is going to end in such and such a year. It never happens. People are sitting there waiting and it never happens. You have people talking about the weather, these weather forecasters who are supposed to be able to predict and forecast the weather. It's very, very, usually it's inaccurate. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But the gift of prophecy has to be something specific. And you don't find many people these days who have that gift. In the Bible, they were very, very specific. When, I don't even want to say this because I can't remember the name, so I'm not even going to go there. But all I'm saying is that, you have to be very careful who you take your knowledge from, who you take your information from. When people say to you, oh, it's going to rain on the 20th of July, or there's going to be an earthquake on such and such a day, or whatever it is, they feel that they have the knowledge, and they're trying to seek those accolades, I can only call them accolades, of being someone who can prophesy. Sometimes it's coincidental. Sometimes people can prophesy. Some people just want to believe that they can prophesy so that they can say that they are the chosen ones. But when you prophesy, it will be specific. You will be given dates and times and a real revelation of what is to come. And it will be specific. It won't be something that you can hear in the news. It won't be something that somebody else has said. It won't be something that you could have heard somewhere. It will be something specific. And there's a very, very few people who have that gift. And as for speaking in tongues, there are very few people who have that gift also. So we have to be wary of people who claim to have these gifts, but they don't. And like I said, how do you know? All you can do is go by the legacy, the history, the reputation of that individual. Because when you build up a reputation, that is what gives you credibility. It's having a series of experiences like that, or if you are prophesying, you're not just going to have one prophecy, you're going to have a series of prophecies that can build up your reputation, and somebody can say, yes, that person is a prophesier. Or if you're speaking in tongues in several churches and you are interpreted each time you go into a different church, people will say, that person has the gift of the spirit of tongues. But not one-off or an occasional moment you see something or you hear something and then it's something that everybody knows about anyway. That's not prophecy. And prophecy isn't something that can be worked out. Some people, you can work out a certain situation depending on what is happening around the world. And it's very, very likely that in a certain set of circumstances, you're going to have a particular outcome. That's if you're logical and you're mathematically and scientifically minded. But even some ordinary folks can work out what's going to happen when a certain set of circumstances get together. You coming and now saying that what's the outcome, that is not prophecy. That is common sense. That is just putting things together. So all I'm saying is that